Så velkommen til en ny episode af en Pilgrimspræst dagbog, og i dag så er den på engelsk, fordi jeg har besøg af Helm fra England, så jeg vil slå over i engelsk. So, welcome Helm from England, visiting from England. We are here at Årdalen Retreat House, just in the woods. Our studio have become big today. When you're here, heaven opens. And as I told you, I meet all kinds of wonderful people, exciting people, strange people, loving people, and their stories I just want more people to hear them, and so that's why I've invited you here. So the listeners and onlookers, they can be partaking in that. And you are here because you have been teaching in spiritual formation and spiritual accompaniment and spiritual direction. We say in Danish, a loving child has many names. But now it was more your story in your spiritual journey, because more and more it dawns on us that we are on a transformational journey in a sense. And so when I say this here, what do you think about? What do you become aware of?
Yeah, good question. I think when we talk transformational journeys, I think of two things, perhaps, maybe three, but two. One is the transformational journey, life, death, life, that I think is the journey of Christ.
Yes, the model.
The model of all transformational journeys.
Yeah.
And that is something that both inspires me and terrifies me, depending on where I am and how I am.
If you've just risen, it's okay.
If I've just risen, it's fine. If I'm thinking I'm facing some dying, it's perhaps not so fine. But I guess that then takes me to my own story and my own journey, and the times where I've found myself on something of that sequence, from life to some form of death to new life, really.
Yes, and that exactly as you say, you have this big understanding model, and then everybody has to find its way. And so, could you tell about when did this dawn on you, or how did you come into it or experienced it?
Well, I think that the first time I really realised that this was the journey, and the journey that I was on, was when I was probably in my late 30s, so 25 plus years ago. And I was a vicar, a pastor of a church in Sheffield. I'd been in ordained Christian ministry for about 6 years, and I found myself experiencing a lot of pain and a lot of just darkness, really, in my life at that point. Some things had happened in work that had meant that I had received several very harsh words from different people that were accusing me of things that I didn't feel I was responsible for, but I was being used as the point to express their hurt and their anger. And I didn't find that very enjoyable.
No.
That was very painful.
So you weren't in your late 30s, you were a man in your best strength, and you had been educated and ordained and ready to go. and then,
And then it didn't.
so listen out there, you boys and girls. Listen carefully.
Yeah, you know, it's like you were saying in terms of, you know, the way is up,
Yeah.
and suddenly the way was down. And what was the problem here?
Tell me one thing. Had you been told this was the path, this would be part of the path, or was it a surprise for you when it dawned on you, this is a tough road, this is a heavy road, this is a painful road? Was that a surprise in a sense?
Oh, I think it was. I mean, I think it was not to say I hadn't been told,
No.
or, you know, and reading Jesus in the Gospels, you know, take up your cross and follow me, is pretty explicit that it's not all easy, but it was a really powerful point at which I was realizing my inner strength was not enough, and that I had run out of the inner strength to cope with all that life was throwing at me.
So you came to this place of poverty or
Yeah.
powerlessness,
Yeah.
and that you knew about it, but you had not really felt it or experienced it.
I think I had experienced some things before, but I hadn't expected it to come in the way it was coming at me.
No.
Like, can we ever? I mean, do you ever expect it? What's coming? But there was, you know, I didn't expect it to come that people would make accusations of me. I didn't expect it to come that that I would be so busy that I could barely prepare for the next thing that was coming on the road in terms of work. I didn't expect, and this was the biggest and most painful of the lot, that my wife and I would lose a baby, and that how to process that when you're in a busy job with lots of demands on you. And she struggled after that, and I struggled after that. And we had 2 small children, and you know, life was just very, very hard for quite a while.
Perfect, what do they say, a perfect storm, or
Perfect
it
storm.
was not one thing, it kind of were many things.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so there
Was I.
the young strong man,
No longer strong.
no longer strong.
No longer strong.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you knew it and you didn't know it, but now you really experienced it.
And it just felt tough, hard. I felt very alone.
Yeah.
And while if I'd done some of that sort of theological looking at what was going on, I might have recognised this as a bit of this journey that in my head I might recognise as life, death, life. In the reality of it, it just felt like death, full stop.
Yes, you might as well quit or, you know.
I certainly didn't know how I was going to carry on, which is not quite the same as quit, but it was just I've got to keep going, and every keeping going just seemed harder and harder.
Yeah, no road. We have in Danish we say, vejen bliver vejløs. That means the road becomes roadless.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no road. You become like a wayfinder or something.
Yeah.
But it was but just alone and
yeah,
yes. Wow.
yeah.
Now you're looking here. You're sitting here looking back at your 39-year-old.
Yeah.
How is it? Are you admiring him or saying, well, he hang in there, or is there something I wish he had been more aware of? Or how is it for you with this part of you those days?
I think I look back with compassion.
Yes.
And also with some gladness for two things. One, the one thing in support for myself at that time that I did have was a spiritual accompanier, someone to go and talk to about my spiritual life, and that I did. It was further down the road than I would have liked, I think.
Yeah. Before you met, or?
Yeah. So I think I'd probably been struggling living with this reality for 3 or 4 months before I saw him, which was a long time to live with it. And it might have been nice if I'd done it earlier, but I didn't.
No.
But I think that was the one meeting that helped me to start to look differently at what was happening.
Yeah. So Nick, now we're here at a retreat house. What's in your heart and mind when you are at such a place?
Oh gosh, there's a question. I suppose what I see retreat houses as giving is a really special space for people who are in some form of desire or need for God to have a chance to breathe, to retreat, to take the time to find themselves and find God for them, rather like I, on my retreat, found this extraordinarily powerful experience of God coming to me.
Yeah.
My hope is that that's happening for everyone.
So this individualized, it's like when you get a new phone, you have to personalize it. So retreat house is a sense, this general message applied to this individual person, or what?
Yeah.
So
they can hold a lot of individual journeys that aren't predetermined and prescribed in a particular way, but by listening and by helping to do that finding where the desire for God is, they can encourage and offer some helps for that journey to be travelled, and leave the space for God to do the work in those individuals in their journeys.
But people who might be listening here and says, well, I'm not this quiet kind, and I cannot hear anything, and this must be for special English pastors or something. What is the requisite for having, could you say, beneficial experience from the for joining a retreat, would you say?
The basic requisite is wanting something from God.
Yeah. So it's like a want or longing or something.
Yeah.
That's what really.
That's enough.
That's enough. So listen out there, all of you bad dudes. If you just have a longing or something, then that's enough for being that a retreat can be beneficial.
That's not to say you'll find it all easy. I didn't find it at all easy, but I know from my experience and from now having accompanied lots of people on retreats,
Yes.
how the real key is not whether you like silence or whether you're comfortable with silence or whether you know what retreats are about, but it's just if you're desiring God, then they are a place where that can be listened to, and the journey unfolds.
Yeah. Wow. So if we start with this shift, because where is this place where you lit the light? What that you say, it changed my view. I got new eyes. I was placed in another place. I could see myself in a different way. It's so strange, isn't it? You come with this understanding of the world and reality, and then through this talk, somehow it changes.
Yeah.
It's like some light goes on, or so I'm interested in that.
Okay.
Can you remember what happened, or because everybody here is of course interested. I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. There are all bad dudes out there. What can help me? Yes, and now comes the secret.
Well, for me, I think what that meeting with my spiritual director helped me see was that I had grown up as quite an isolated child, so, and with a sense that life was something I, as an individual, just had to get on with, regardless of whether it was good or bad. I just had to carry on, and I was on my own in that. It was my life. I had to live it, and there was no external support really. And that's how I'd found myself living through my childhood. Very isolated and very unaware that you could get emotional support and physical support from someone else, and that was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd grown up kind of thinking that wasn't okay.
Your inner worldview.
My inner worldview was, I've got to do this, and I can't ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I did have this man who I could talk to.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a way of asking for help. But his response to me when I talked about what was happening was to say, I remember this still very powerfully, why didn't you come earlier?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, this was in the diary, and I can't ask for more help than that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, you can ask for more help than that. And it was like, oh!
So that challenged this survival person in you.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
And, isn't it?
I can think differently.
Yes.
I can look at it differently. I can ask. He's saying I can ask for help.
Yes.
Oh, right. And that was just really helpful.
When he said that, it dawned on you, it was not the old world like when you were.
It was saying, you're not on your own, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for you.
Yes.
There may be others here for you. Did you know that? No, I didn't, but now I do. That was huge, huge.
So the world opened up. There were more inhabitants in your world than this we say tunnel view.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then you can even remember what?
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
Oh, there. It's so strange to live in this old world, in this new world, and then suddenly it opens up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was the beginning. It wasn't,
No.
at that point, it wasn't like my whole world has changed
No.
so much as there's little gap, a little piece of light coming in
Yes.
to this quite dark and isolated tunnel that I'm living in.
Yes.
And that was really helpful. And the other thing that he said to me on that day, which was, at the time, I didn't know how good or wise or beneficial it was going to be, was to say, why don't you go on a retreat? Why don't you go and take some time to be on your own with God and see what happens? And he didn't just say any retreat. He said, go on an individually guided retreat. I know somewhere that might be very good for you, and the retreat guide who might be very good for you. So here's the information.
Yeah. Yes. He recognized you were not capable of researching and stuff.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah.
Like it was like a shock. You needed instruction.
I
there.
needed some clear guidance,
Yes.
and that at that point was just so helpful, because I didn't know, how do you choose? There are hundreds of retreats every year in England. Where do I go?
Yeah.
I have no points of reference, no way of making a choice. And so I trusted him. He was a man who I had chosen as a spiritual accompanier because I found him someone who was worth being with
Yes.
and listening to and talking about stuff with.
Yes.
And so it was great to know he had something to suggest for me.
Yes. Yes. So, and of course this. We will finish our talk soon here, but we'll have a next level. But of course, you ended up really helping to make credible. What do you say? Incredible directors. Then that it's also quality when you're in trouble. You can get help that is helpful and not be caught up in all stuff.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I am so grateful for the person that I ended up having as my guide on that retreat, because she handled me in a way that I was surprised, if not shocked, about once or twice, and yet was just brilliant in enabling me in the darkness to find a journey that led me out of the darkness into light.
Yeah.
Just extraordinary.
Well, Nick, we'll continue on our next episode. So everybody out there, thanks for seeing and listening here with Nick Helm from the US. No, England, who is traveling now regularly in Denmark to help us grow and develop into this area of spiritual accompaniment, spiritual direction, so we can have this, could you say, ableness to make this grace of God approachable for when we are lost in this world and in space. So please listen and look for this next episode with Nick Helm here in our studio at Ådalen Retreat House, where we are, I can say, Nick and I are in the studio, but we also have quite a lot of guests around, flying around us. So it's real nature. So find the next episode, and good to see you. And some information about Nick and his book and stuff will be just in the information area under the video.